Hello and welcome to Middle East Matters. I'm Hala Mohyeddin. Coming up in this week's show, Fallujan families flee one hell only to arrive in another. We look at this latest humanitarian crisis. Refugees in Paris receive a little taste of home. And we take you to Petra, where ancient tribes are moving back to the homes of their ancestors. But first to Falluja, where Iraqi forces continue to do battle with IS militants, just days after the government declared the city's liberation. Iraqi special forces say they're closing in on the remaining IS strongholds, but that their progress has been slowed by snipers hiding in residential buildings. Well, as soldiers continue to claw back territory from the extremist terror group, aid workers are warning of an impending humanitarian disaster. UN figures suggest more than 80,000 people have fled the city following the 4-week government offensive to retake Falluja. But resources are spread thin and tens of thousands more keep coming, as Catherine Clifford reports.
They've walked and run for days under Islamic State group militants' sniper fire in sweltering heat. But many arrive at camps to find little comfort. Aid workers are struggling to cope.
Right now, as we speak, there are thousands without any tents, without any shelter. They have slept overnight. They out in the open. They are now stranded out there in a sandstorm under the scorching sun without any protection.
Fleeing families are often separated as men are screened by Iraqi forces who want to make sure no militants slip out in disguise. This refugee said he waited 4 days at a screening camp.
We reached our brothers in the army when Islamic State group militants were shooting at us. The army asked us, "Who are you?" We told them we're families. They told us, "Come over," and they received us. They treated us very well.
Shiite militias are fighting alongside the Iraqi army. There have been arrests following allegations some have used screening as a pretext to attack fleeing Sunni civilians. It's a source of fear for Fatima Khalifa, who hasn't seen her husband and son since they were taken 2 weeks ago.
Shiite militiamen took us from the Al-Bukasha area and separated the women from the men. They took my husband and my son. We don't know where they are or where they were taken. We don't want rice or cooking oil. We just want our men.
Aid workers say 30,000 people have fled Falluja in the past 3 days alone, with many more expected to arrive soon. They're imploring the Iraqi government to take charge of what they describe as an unfolding humanitarian disaster.
Well, these tragedies are unfolding as the UN marked World Refugee Day this week. This year's statistics are particularly grim, with a record 65.3 million people displaced in 2015 alone. Well, things are hitting close to home here in Paris, where chefs across the capital have opened up their kitchens to provide new arrivals a taste of the homes they've had to leave behind.
For Mohamed El Khaldi and his wife Doha, it's a taste of the past, and for Paris, a taste of the Middle East. The Syrian chef's a refugee, and for the Global Day in Refugees' honour, he's brought his talent into one of the restaurants in his new home. On the menu, mezze followed by a selection of Damascus specialty fateh.
فتة حمص with sunni and فتة دجاج أو we call فتة chicken.
Mohamed left Syria in 2012. He had to leave everything behind, including his family and 2 restaurants. In Egypt, he even starred in a TV cookery show before his wife and 3 children were able to join him. But he had his eyes on Europe. It took the family 12 days at sea with 750 other refugees, but finally they made it.
I find some light after the dark tunnel, in Paris.
We want to work. We didn't want to take money from the government and stay at home.
I'm so happy to work with them, and they support me to do the best, and I will do the best, inshallah.
They're professional and really sweet together. I think we're going to have fun today.
This is just one of 11 Paris restaurants which have briefly opened their doors to new arrivals with the right kitchen skills. And with locals in the French capital, it's gone down a storm.
They have to start from scratch and prove everything again. I think this is the best way they can do that.
It's not just about cuisine, but a chance to show refugees in a more human light.
The dessert is coming. Don't be worried. Huh? You're welcome.
Now, the world-famous Jordanian city of Petra draws thousands of tourists every year. But eagle-eyed visitors may also notice that the caves hewn out of pink rock are no longer sitting empty. For the first time in 31 years, people are moving back to Petra's caves, the homes of their forefathers. Josh Vardy tells us more.
At the end of this rocky chasm sit the wonders of Petra. Jordan's foremost archaeological site and a place that was once an important trade centre on the spice route in the distant past. This ancient settlement attracts thousands of tourists every year. Hundreds of caves surround the main site, many of which have been turned into dwellings over the years. Some are real houses that have been carved into the rock. Merchant families once lived here, and now their descendants are returning in increasing numbers. This sparse but homely cave is where Suleiman lives. He left the nearby village of Sayoun to re-find the home of his ancestors. But that's not the reason that he's here.
We came back to this place because young people have no place to live in the village. Most of us have only 2 rooms in which 15 people can live. They cannot sleep or work peacefully, so we decided to return and live in the homes of our ancestors.
Suleiman's mother, Basma, left Petra 31 years ago. She's happy now to be back.
I love Petra, and this is where I want to die. The village at Sayoun presented me with endless difficulties. I want to live in Petra until the end of my life, and this is where I want to be buried.
Just a few kilometers away sits the Sayoun village. It was built with the purpose of housing the cave-dwelling families in 1985. The government of the time had the Petra site evacuated to make more room for the rapidly expanding tourism industry. Today, the village is no longer big enough to accommodate the descendants of these families.
We were happy to leave Petra in order to grow, but now we are too many. Where do you want to put these people? The village has to expand.
Meanwhile, at Petra, the cave houses are gradually being repopulated, a situation that's been troubling the authorities.
The government will not throw them out, but if they want a better place to live, they are always welcome in Sayoun.
20 to 25 families now live here almost full-time, away from cramped city life and closer to the traditions of their ancestors.
And finally, the internet is bringing water into Egyptian homes. How is this possible? Well, it's thanks to the clicks and the kindness of strangers that Az Menom has a tap in her yard. Click funding has enabled hundreds of homes like hers to have access to running water.
This small tap in Az Menhom's garden has transformed her life. Before, the 27-year-old mother of 2 would trek back and forth to her neighbour's house several times a day, carrying heavy buckets of water.
It's made a huge difference. I can't count the number of times I would go to my neighbour's house and they wouldn't be there. I would find the door closed, or they would be busy eating.
No longer dependent on the kindness of her neighbours, Az owes everything to the clicks of strangers. She got her tap through a click funding project launched by Egyptian startup Basita. It publishes online campaigns for development initiatives, and when an idea has enough likes, it gets funding.
C'est le web user qui peut déclencher It's the web user who can unlock the success of the project. We tell them it's an extremely simple and extremely cool concept. Just by clicking or sharing or commenting on a video or Facebook campaign, you can help a cause find a solution.
The project to provide residents in Azaz village with water was launched by UNICEF in mid-March. In just 3 days, their campaign video, published by Basita, got over 2 million views. Since then, they've connected 100 homes to piped water. But they aren't stopping there.
We started in Minya and will continue with Asyut, Suhag and Kenna. And we hope to provide over 1,000 families with water in these 4 provinces.
So far, the project has received around €150,000 in funding. But in a country where 7.5 million people have no access to clean water in their homes, this funding is still just a drop in the ocean.
And that's all from the Middle East Matters team for now. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you at the same time next week.